have the WBC ordered a mandatory fight between Fury and Wilder, or have they only sanctioned it? I've just seen an interview that Eddie Hearn did with Coogan, and in that interview he talked about the WBC sanctioning a fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, which effectively will be the rematch. But the question that comes out of that interview for me is whether, as Eddie Hearn puts it, it was only a sanctioned fight and that it wasn't actually mandated. I've then gone on to the WBC website, and I'm going to read out the statement from that website, and this is what it says. The WBC Council, through its Board of Governors, held a vote which resulted in a unanimous agreement to sanction a direct playoff between WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder and challenger Tyson Fury. Wilder and Fury gave boxing one of the best fights in the heavyweight division in a long time, which has generated tremendous popular demand for fans to see a tiebreaker. The WBC is pleased to confirm that this fight has been approved, which will be reflected in the mandatory state of the division. I want to once again congratulate Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury for their great battle in the ring and for the exemplary sportsmanship after their fight. So the key word I'm taking from that is the penultimate paragraph in there, which talks about being pleased to confirm that the fight has been approved, which will be reflected in the mandatory state of the division. So what does that mean? Well, I would say first and foremost that the wording by the WBC there is a bit confusing. It's not straightforward. Are they saying that it's going to be reflected in mandatory state, which means that it's being put ahead of the Deontay Wilder versus Dominic Breazeale mandate, which is currently in place? Or are they simply saying that this fight has been sanctioned and the Breazeale fight will basically be shuffled down accordingly? Well, to me, the answer to that is that it doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant. The fact is that the Breazeale fight will not be happening next as far as the WBC are concerned, and that if any fight is going to happen, then it will have to be the Wilder and Fury fight. So as far as Dominic Breazeale is concerned, he's not currently being, his mandatory status is not currently being given priority. But there is still some doubt here, and the doubt is, if it isn't a mandated fight, then that still leaves the door open for an Anthony Joshua fight as well. However, if it is mandated, then of course that closes the door on Anthony Joshua fight, unless Tyson Fury of course decides that he's not going to take the Deontay Wilder fight. That's the confusion. It's not very clear. I think the WBC needs to come out and make their position very clear about this. Are they saying that this is a mandatory fight, in which case we might as well forget about an Anthony Joshua fight between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, in which case we're not going to see we couldn't see an undisputed fight, and then therefore any negotiations currently taking place between Eddie Hearn and Deontay Wilder's team, in particular Shelley Finkel, which Anthony Joshua talked about in that interview. Eddie Hearn talked about in that interview about having a discussion with Shelley Finkel. They obviously want to keep that discussion private and not carry out a negotiation in public as has been done in the past. Well, if that negotiation is continuing as we speak, then of course, depending on whether this is a mandated fight or not, that negotiation isn't going to be for a fight, for their next fight, but rather it's going to be for future fight. when that fight will happen, then we don't know. Of course, if Anthony Joshua doesn't fight Deontay Wilder next, and Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury have the rematch, the winner of that may well have to fight Dominic Breazeale, in which case very unlikely that we're going to see a unification fight in 2019, and it's possibly going to be in 2020. But of course, if it turns out that this is not mandated and it's rather a sanctioned fight, then of course that still leaves the door open for potential negotiations and potential agreement on a fight between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. That's all we can say about this issue for now. Of course, it will all come out in the wash sooner rather than later, once the dust settles on this, and once we get a clearer view about where Wilder and most importantly Tyson Fury stands on this. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Enjoy. Peace.